I got Happy Mail. Look, you can see, it even says Happy Mail. Y'all ready for this? I don't know if I am. Oh my goodness. Rufus said he's happy. Oh, fun. Okay, look at all these pretty colors. Oh my gosh, I love that one. Bayberry. So pretty. Got all these big ones. And I got in here some waxes and some other goodies. I cannot wait to share this with y'all. So many goodies. Oh man, I love when I get Happy Mail, and this was very happy because look, there's 32 different colors. I have each of these available in sample and 1 pint sizes. Along with those, I got 3 shades each of beeswax and oil wax, extra bond, and hemp oil. Aside from our booth at Centerville Pickers Market in upstate South Carolina, we also have all of these products available on our website at spindlemountainmercantile.com. Now I'm all ready to jump into the milk paint scene with old-fashioned milk paint, and I hope those of you who haven't tried it yet will try along with me. And for those of you who know what you're doing, I'm so glad y'all are here too. Please feel free to give me tips or pointers, but be gentle with those criticisms. You know how tender I am. All right, from Spindle Mountain Mercantile, I am Heather. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's jump in right away with project number 1. Now, don't get me wrong, I've used milk paint before, but only a couple times, and by no means nothing I could make a tutorial with. So here I am mixing Harbor with water. Harbor's a very light blue, and it's just gorgeous. Y'all know how much I like Apothecary. This is like a lighter shade of Apothecary. I mixed it with 1 part water and 1 part powder, and I'm using a fork just to stir it. You want to stir it for a few minutes until it gets thick. Then you let it sit, and you want to have the consistency of about like a milkshake, that not like a Frosty or one of those Dairy Queen things you can hold upside down and it doesn't come out of the cup. No. Like a milkshake from McDonald's that kind of set on your dash for a little while and then you stir it up. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's the consistency we're looking for. I do not know from where this bunny hopped to get to my place, but by the time I found him in my stash, his tail had clean broke off and his ear had a big notch in it. I'm wondering if he was like a feral bunny, you know, like the feral cats that they take and spay and cut the notch in their ear and then put them back into the wilderness. I don't know, do they have feral bunnies? Well, anyway, I decided just to go ahead and use 220 grit sandpaper on that ear to smooth it out. I might have should have put some putty over it or something to make it a little smoother, but it actually looked pretty good. I'm using this instant glue that has an accelerator, and I found mine on Amazon. I'll leave a link for that. And if you buy something from Amazon by using my link to get there, they will give me a small compensation, but won't raise your price. You can find this at Lowe's or another hardware store for a better price. Just make sure before you go get the first thing you see on Amazon that you look around and get the best price you can and something that has really good ratings. So how I did this was put the glue on the tail and the bunny butt. Then I put those together and I just sprayed that adhesive right around the sides. And once the adhesive hits any part of that liquid, it just goes and it bonds. It is instantly bonded. You can pick that thing up by its tail and swing it around. It wouldn't go anywhere. Unless it slipped out of your hands. I did not have any black. I'm glad I didn't because I like this better. This is a bronze, a dark bronze color from Rust-Oleum. And I just took the bunny outside and sprayed it with that and I let it dry. Now I am painting it with Harbor. Right about here I was like, oh no, what if you can't put this paint on spray paint? But it worked really well. There were a couple places where it kind of slid off, and I think that's because I didn't have the spray paint dry enough when I started putting the Harbor on it. But it totally worked out. I put it on pretty thick and made sure it got down into all of the little crevices, all over the bunny. And now I had to show you this part. I'm cleaning off our counter that's still in progress to show you this blue and white placemat I found in the dumpster. It's an exact copy of what we had when I was a little girl, and Mama always set our kitchen with it every night when we had dinner, except Sundays when we ate in the dining room and had a tablecloth. It was lace. Right here I'm touching up some of the parts where it slid off, and I went ahead and just went over the whole thing again. Now I got out my heat gun And I did not speed this up at all. You can see in real time the crackling happen. And it's so awesome. It's exactly what I wanted. I did wish that I had a few bigger chunks kind of fall off, but I knew I could fix that later. And in some of the crevices, like where the little bunny's arms are going around the sides and where her legs come in, some of that chipped off in there, and that looked really good. It was exactly what I wanted. I didn't do inside the little planter part because I thought it might get worn out too much. It's going to have plants in it. So I went over it with another coat and I let that dry, and now I am sanding it. I'm using 220 grit sandpaper, and you can see the big chunks where it's gone. Oh, it just looked so good. I sold this, by the way, I think for $13 just a few days after I put it in my shop. I did this before Easter. To really get the crackle to pop, you want to use a different tone of sealer. So I'm using oil wax in dark. I put it on kind of liberally, and I did make sure I kept shaking up the bottle. It didn't take very much at all. I used a little brush to get down into all the little nooks and crannies, and I think I covered the whole thing before I used a towel to wipe it down. I wasn't sure if it dries really fast, but as I was applying it, it didn't seem like, like black wax where you're kind of afraid as soon as you put it on because the whole thing's going to turn black. Yeah, I thought, no, I think I can wait. So I just went ahead and put it all over the bunny. And then I got a very dry towel that was soft, and I just started rubbing the whole thing. Oh, no, I didn't. First, I dabbed it because I was afraid. That's right. I was afraid I would wipe off too much of it. So the reason I don't remember some of this as I'm telling you is because this was actually a few weeks before Easter. I ordered some product to make sure that I liked old-fashioned milk paint before I started selling it. And this is the little sample packages that I bought before that. So, I'm not going to sell something that I don't like myself. And as soon as I did this bunny, I was like, yeah, we're good. And I went and told them, okay, I want to do it if you'll accept me. And they did. I just remembered too that first towel was actually a paper towel. And I thought it might be a little too rough. So I added some more oil in a few different places where I felt like it was too light. And then I did use a regular dry towel. And I'm not sure why this is upside down. I realized when I was editing, there's a lot of frames that it feels like it's upside down just because of where I had the camera angled. And my neck was kind of getting a crook in it because I was sitting there with my head over to the side while I was editing. And I thought, oh no, what if everybody else is watching this and they hurt their neck watching my YouTubes? I hope that doesn't happen to you. But if it does, all you need to do to fix it is go find a bunny and paint it with some Harbor old-fashioned milk paint, and you will feel so much better. I promise. Project number 2. I think this little handheld rechargeable milk frother from Amazon would be great to mix this paint, but I can't find mine, so I'm using my handheld submersible blender I also found on Amazon. This great big cup thingy came with it. It's like a small pitcher. I think you know what? I think people use it for mayonnaise because you can get that thing way down in there and mix your eggs with your oil, and I've done it. I don't do it now because I don't know if I can get the paint out, but it's not toxic, so there's that. I am mixing Harbor and Sea Green together, and I got this really fabulous blue I did not expect. And remember, the colors on the screen aren't maybe going to match what you're buying, so always keep that in consideration whenever you buy anything. Not just from me with things I made on the YouTubes. This worked really good, and I'm telling you, it's probably because that milk frother attachment has 2 coils that go around it. A lot of milk frothers only have 1, so look for that when you're buying one. This frame is super cool. It's gold, but it's got a lot of messed up places on it. I think I found this on the side of the road in Belton, South Carolina, and I believe it was a mirror. I'm using a brush I don't care that much about, so I can really smush it down into all the little nooks and crannies and fill everything up with this beautiful color that is so much like Apothecary, maybe mixed with slate from Debbie's DIY do-it-yourself paint. I don't know why it took me so long to get that out. Sometimes the words are like rolling around in my brain and I have to just kind of grab them and spit them out as they come, and they have too many gaps in between, or they're the wrong words in the wrong order. I'm just hoping that y'all can learn from what I'm doing and you can watch instead of listening. And sometimes, you know how you hate your own voice? Yeah, if I had to listen to me all the time, I think I might just watch. I think it might be muted. Maybe I'd turn on some music. I'm using my heat gun again, and you can see right here, I'm getting some of that crackle. I tried to get up real close so you could see it. It's harder to tell because there's so many nooks and crannies, but it was pretty cool. This is also a good way to get your paint dry so you can move on to the next step. And the next step for me was to scratch a lot of it off. I am using a wire brush right now from my sweet husband's wire brush collection, which he has a plethora of them. He gets a lot of them at Harbor Freight and uses them quite a bit. So if I lose some, he might not mind that much. And this is just a stiff polyester brush, or I don't know, it's plastic brush, and I'm using that to get all of the dust and the pieces of paint off. I'm measuring a white foam core, and look, see, you just saw my head. Did you see me look up at the camera? Because I'm trying to not be out of the frame so often, like I often do. And I'm using a razor blade. Don't use a razor blade like this if you're going to cut yourself. Be very careful. Follow the manufacturer's directions. I made 2 notches, and then I put this other frame down because I didn't have a T-square with me, and I made sure the lines were squared, and I used the razor blade to cut from one end to the other. And I made sure that after I started it there, I moved my hand around so I wouldn't cut it with the razor blade. Because, you know, even if you're being careful, that razor blade can like slip. So please, 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 please buy a box knife or a razor blade that's in a thing. Now, I find I have more control like this. Where was I? I got a little sidetracked. Oh, yeah. Foam board or foam core poster board from Dollar Tree is what this is, and it's just the white one. I made sure it had an absolute tight fit. I am using spray adhesive that we got from Lowe's, but I really like the Gorilla brand. It's awesome, and it doesn't eat away so much at things that are made out of foam. This did eat a little bit into the foam. I put it on both the back of my picture and my foam core board because that gets a better stick. And you could tell that it was trying to eat it, but since it's got the paper over it, the poster board over that foam, it didn't eat it up a lot. And I mean, you can't tell, especially with the last process that I'm going to do to this. You can't. And I know I shouldn't buy things at Temu, but I can't find these anywhere else. And if you guys find some for me somewhere else, I will buy them somewhere else. I will buy them stateside. I will buy them from somebody who's makes them right here in the good old USA, but I can't find them. I would even pay more. I cannot find them. And I'm not going to pay, you know, like $3 less than I can sell them for in my shop. So that's a thing too. I'm using a little roller pin that I bought when we lived on our boat because even though I had a little tiny kitchen, it didn't mean I wasn't going to make biscuits. Sometimes I call this my picture frame stapler, but it's really named a point driver. And it's how I get my boards stuck back into my pictures. It works so good. I got it in Amazon. I found a pretty good price, and I will leave a link for that. I was introduced to these, by the way, from Reclaim Grace, Bailey. You know, the one that has the awesome accent and a big dog named Roscoe. Yeah, she uses hers all the time. And she's right. If you're going to sell pictures in your booth, you got to have one of these. It'll pay for itself in the first picture or two. I'm not sure why I didn't show you. I guess I was so depressed because I thought I ruined my liquid patina golden ticket because it was in my trailer and I got hot and cold and hot and cold and hot and cold like 5 times in 2 weeks, and I had to use a blender to fix it. Anyway, that's a whole nother video. But I didn't think it was enough on here. So right here, I'm adding Debbie's liquid patina in the color Pennies from Heaven, which is a copper patina, and it really popped with her scarf and her other coloring. I dipped my brush into the lid and then wiped it off, and I used it like a dry brush on all the bumpy parts. And then on the interior part of the frame and the corners, I just painted it on so it would be a little more, I don't know, like it was pooled in those areas. It looked so sharp. I was so happy with this. Now, my next shot isn't the most flattering, and I'm sure you don't want to see my messy bun quite so up close and in person so much, but I work where I can, people, until I'm a big YouTube star and I get my own place to work. I'm working where I can, and this time it's on the living room floor. So here I am cutting out some craft paper we found at Lowe's. It's construction grade, so it's really thick. You can also get thin craft paper at Dollar Tree in the gift wrap section. I'm adding ram board tape. Some people like to use double sticky tape between the paper and the frame, but we like this because we have more control. Now, this frame goes kind of out from the wall and, it like flares out. So you could see the ram board tape. When I was done adding it to the frame, I took a board and put it over the edge so that it was still taped to the paper and the frame. And I used a razor blade to cut off a pretty not huge section of it, maybe about a half an inch or smaller, just depending on the side. And I just trimmed that off and pulled it off so that you couldn't see it when you're looking at the picture from the side of it, like if you're closer to the wall. I put 2 D-rings and some wire on the back so you can hang it up. And my friend Dar over at DIYs by Dar showed this really cool medium that you put on pictures and it makes it look like an oil painting. I ordered some of that from Amazon, but it's not here yet. We'll play with that in a later video, but for right now, let me introduce you to Little Miss Kitty. Project number 3. Okay, y'all, I kid you not, until I finished this, I thought it was a mistake. It wasn't. Just wait and see. This is where I was talking about where my head was all crooked. I'm not sure what's going on with the angle here, but it's even worse if I turn it the other way around, so sorry about that. I don't know. Put your phone on a sock or something, like a little pile of tissue and make it crooked and maybe then it will be straight up and down. I don't know. All right, I'm adding the same mix of sea glass and Harbor. And I actually used all of it up. So I only got to do 1 coat and I let it sit after this this was before Easter a few weeks too. If you look at the projects in the background of some of these pictures, you can see the things that I made and how long ago it was. So after this first coat dried, I used my heat gun on it and got some pretty good crackle, but not a ton. And I still didn't know what I was going to do with this. It was a little too light. As much as I love colors like Apothecary, it needed more. It was too light for this. I guess it was the style rather than the size of this piece of furniture. It's just a little crude table that was made by somebody's grandpa in the shed, and it's made with regular pieces of leftover lumber is what I'm guessing, and it has a light on top, so that's pretty cool. This is the Crackle Medium from Old Fashioned Milk Paint. So when you put this on, you have to put it on your dry paint. And oh, I sanded this down too before I started this. Not everywhere, just in some different places I wanted a little bit of the real wood to come through at the time. So you don't want to put this on super thick, but you want to get a good coat of it. And there's different methods for putting how much you put on in regards to how much paint and how thick everything is and how much water is in your paint to get it to have a wide crackle or not. I let it dry for about 3 or 4 hours. And now this is the third method I'm using to shake up hot tamale strawberry. That is so good on brie wrapped in like puff pastry. Oh, with pears. One of my favorite things to eat. Shaking this paint up in the jar worked super good. That was probably my favorite method of making this. This color is called Soldier Blue. The directions say after you put the Crackle Medium on and it's completely dry, I think I waited about 3 hours, you put 1 stroke of paint over it. You don't want to keep painting over it because when you do, you'll pull back some of the paint that you put down in the first stroke, which I discovered several times. I should not have started on this piece. I should have started underneath where you can't see, and then I could have practiced. Unfortunately, this is the first piece you see when you walk over there, so you can see all my mistakes. Now, after I did what I did to it later, it's fine. It looks great, but I was really disappointed because I kept pulling up paint, and it wasn't a good first place to start when you haven't yet done very much with milk paint. I think I did a piece of smaller furniture a long time ago. Anyway, I digress. So as I'm watching this, and I'm trying to show you some as I zoom in, you can see where it is crackling as I'm putting it on, and it says in the directions that will happen, and it is super cool. I really see. Oh, well, I was going to show you that, but look, my big huge noggin got in the way. I don't know why I left that in there. Okay, so here I am trying to, and look at all that crackle. Isn't that fantastic? Trying to get some big chunks to come off. It wasn't happening. I went over that part too much. There are other parts I didn't. And right here, some big chunks are coming off, and I love that. So as I'm going over this with the sandpaper, I'm really starting to like where in some places I didn't get big chunks off, and I made some of the wood show, but just like little tiny lines of it. And then other places I got big chunks off, and I love that mix. This is a really rudimentary, piece that it's not like it was made by Innis Fine Furniture or something. And it's not something I want to look perfect. I'm showing you up close what it looks like when I sand it as I go, and you can see how big the pieces come off. And I just did that here and there until I got it to look the way I wanted. This was starting to get better at this point. I was still a little, my heart was sinking a little bit because I thought, what have I done? I'm just holding my phone here in different places so you can see up close, and I hope you don't get that thing. What's it? Oh, that's really upside down. Hello. Vertigo. Okay, right here I am cleaning it off with a barely damp towel. I got it wet yesterday and wrung it out, and then I brushed it, and then I used that barely damp towel again to make sure I got all the dust out of there, and I kind of turned it upside down and blew in all the corners to make sure. Now I'm using, it says Sweet Pickins on the label. It's the same company as Old Fashioned Milk Paint, but this is their Dark Oil Wax. The Dark Oil Wax, the same stuff I used on the bunny. And I wasn't getting very much on here with my towel, so I thought, I have seen somebody pour this. I can't remember who it was. The 2 people I watch most who use milk paint are Bailey from Reclaim Grace and Heather from Create Your Own Cozy. And I don't know if they poured it or not, but somebody out there did. Thank you for that, because this worked really good for me. I found my wax brush and I just started smearing it all over, making sure I got it down into all the little corners and the parts where the sides come up. And then I put it on everywhere. I put this everywhere, and this was the difference between, oh, I can't stand what I'm doing and this is not what I wanted, and wow. And it turns out that line is very thin. That line is made of dark oil wax. The line between and yeah. It's that's how thin it is. When I got done with this part, I put the shade back on and I set it up in our living room and took some pictures. And y'all, I like this so much. And navy blue, this dark blue isn't my color. I like it so much. I think we're going to keep it. Project number 4. You know, I haven't been thrift shopping in a while, so this is something else for my stash. It didn't have a bottom, so my sweet husband made one for me, and then he gave it a good sanding to get rid of all the super shininess that was on it. Don't know what it was for, but I'm thinking, well, I'll show you in the pictures what I thought it would be for. This color is called Summer Cottage, and I'm also using a 1-to-1 ratio to mix this. This color is so pretty. It reminds me of, I don't know, maybe it's not pretty, but in hospitals in like the 30s and the 40s, that green color, they had the enamel carts and stuff. Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. And I have the perfect transfers to go on this. I'm giving it a, a pretty good coat, and it's this isn't raw wood. It still has quite a bit of finish on it. It was super, super shiny before. Like they used polyurethane on it, maybe. So it's not like totally soaking in, but it's accepting the paint very well and still leaving quite a bit of it on top. I really like this old-fashioned milk paint, and I'm super glad I put it in my shop. I put it in 2 days ago, and I've already sold 8 different things. So I guess people around here are also glad I put it in my shop. I remember when I bought this, I thought, I am going to cover up that heart because nobody likes those hearts. And now it's maybe 2 years later and everybody likes those hearts. So I'm trying not to get paint in there, and I thought it would look kind of outlined with the wood inside. And as I'm doing my voiceover, I realized I forgot to go back and sand that and seal it to get the little pieces of paint off that smudged in there. So I'll have to go back and do that. Oops. I gave it 2 good coats, and in between, I let the first coat dry thoroughly. It, there might have been some tannins still that came through even though my sweet husband sanded it down. Those lines that you see on it that are kind of wide, I I I didn't see those while I was painting it. It's just with the lighting from the camera that I'm really noticing it. I mean, when I look at it, you can see where I sanded it. It's kind of a different texture, so it makes it look like a different color, but those didn't shine up, or they didn't show up like really pink or red like, the wood tannins do. So that's kind of interesting. Not sure what happened there. I did put 1 coat of paint on the back, but I mean, really, I mostly did it because I didn't want to waste any of the paint. I did try saving some of that blue paint overnight, put the lid on the jar really tight, the dark blue one, and the next morning it was just like a big glob of gloop. It was it was thicker than slime. It was not something you could reuse. If somebody knows a secret about how to reuse it or how to reconstitute it with water or something, let me know. So this is the second coat, and before it dried, I got out my heat gun so I could get some cracking. Now, I don't want the big chunky cracking like I got in those other pieces. I just want little pieces here and there. I'm going to put transfers on this, and I'm not sure about putting transfers on crackle paint. I I just I don't know. I guess I've done that before after I've sealed it. I'm just not used to this. So, I'm a fly by the seat of my pants kind of girl. And I ain't got time to go and take classes and stuff. I got to learn as I go. And I'm hopefully encouraging some of you to do the same. I did get some pretty crackling, and it was it was pretty small. I'll have to figure out more, like, if you put lots of paint, like, I know with Pent crackling medium, if you put a big thick amount on, and one of y'all told me this, by the way, if you put it on very thick, you're gonna get bigger crackle, and I don't know if it's the same with milk paint. I left this next part in so you could see it in real time, how lovely it is when you make it crackle. It's so fun to watch. I even made my sweet husband come and look. I was like, "Check this out. How cool is this?" I don't know. It was like waving a magic wand. It was pretty cool. I decided to sand this with 220 grit sandpaper for 2 reasons. Number 1, I want the wood to show through on all of the edges, and number 2, remember how I said I hadn't put transfers on crackled paint? I wanna make sure it's as smooth as possible without ruining the crackle. So I didn't do a lot on the flat surfaces. I did pretty heavy on the edges, and around that heart, I tried to make it in a couple of obvious places where it or maybe 3 little places where I had rubbed off the paint more, and it oh, it looks so cute, you guys. I love this little thing. I'm thinking I'm gonna ask my sweet husband to make more. Oh, right there, you could see some of it flying off. Some of that part did come off in little chunks, and I'm totally okay with that on the edges. I just don't want that on the flat part, and, it did work good. Right there, you can see where it's a little bit thicker along the edge. That just kinda chipped off as I went, so on some of the other places, I rubbed extra hard on the edges to make it look like that, where it didn't naturally chip off. Anyway, I was super pleased with this look. I'm going to be crazy transparent about the next part. I am using Emily Clare because of all of the spring 2026 IOD release products. I've sold the least of this. And I think it's underappreciated. It actually is kind of fun to use, and it has a lot of different applications where you can cut pieces out and use just parts of them. And also, y'all, it has so many cute little kitties. Ah, there's kittens with their paw in the goldfish, and there's kittens playing with yarn and batting at each other. Just really, really cute pictures. And I'm not that much of a cat person, but I didn't want cats on this because I'm thinking this is going to go in the kitchen, and I don't even like thinking of cats in the kitchen because, you know, cat fur. Yeah, I like having naked dogs. Not that they run well, anyway, I'm not gonna go into all the hair of animals in the kitchen. I want more subs, not fewer, and that probably could be a turnoff. Anywho, applying IOD transfers is super easy. After you have your transfer cut to where you want it to be, put it exactly in that place and then give it a good little rub with your hand. Then take your transfer stick, it's that little plastic stick, and one of them comes with every IOD transfer book, and rub the entire surface of your transfer. That sheet I'm holding with my left hand that's plastic and has the grid on it, that's called the carrier sheet. That's what the transfer is stuck to. Can you see the white piece in the back underneath the piece of or the piece I'm working on? That's kind of like wax paper, and it's what is protecting the transfer, the sticky part of the transfer. So before you put it down, of course, you peel that off. I start in one corner and I just gently start pulling back the carrier sheet as I rub where it's pulling back from my object with my transfer stick. And then I usually, if it's something like this that's just square, I try to do one full side at a time and just pull all the way down. When I got to the bottom, though, I stopped and I worked from left to right instead of top to bottom. Because when you get to the last part of your transfer and you have just like, especially with something like this, where there's a few leaves and that's all that's holding it, if you pull on it just a tiny bit the wrong direction or just at the wrong point in time, you're going to pull that off and those those little leaves won't stick. So that's what I'm being careful with here in the last part of this one. And as you just saw, I did lift up one little tiny part of leaf. So I just laid it back down. It's easy to line them up. It's just kind of a pain. So I got it to stick and now I'm burnishing it. And that just, you just rub it. I like to rub things with my fingers a lot, but this was so smooth and this transfer went on so easy. I just used the carrier sheet to burnish it. And that's just when you rub the entire surface of your transfer to make sure that every little tiny piece is stuck to your project. And with the top part, I cut out one of it's kind of like swags that the woman Emily Clare, she painted all of these pictures, I think in the 1700s, it might have been the 1800s, to put around pictures and to make pictures for her home, for her family. And this is an actual print of one of her paintings. And she would take like kind of wreaths and paint them, I mean, swags, and paint them to look like wreaths, which is very similar to the idea of our mold called wreath and swags, by the way. I don't think I said I decided on picking some of the roosters because that's a chicken. I mean, that's a kitchen thing, right? Yeah, sure it is. So there was the rooster and a hen that I did on the bottom, and I left that one. It was like 2/3 of a sheet. I left it as is, as Emily Clare painted it, and put that entire piece on the front section of this little whatever it is utility box. And for the top one, I wanted to use another little rectangle frame in which she had painted a rooster. And the frame really covered up too much of the bottom of those swags where they almost meet there. And oh, see that big chunk of paint? I'm sorry. It's like a squirrel. I get distracted very easily. So you can see there's a red frame around that rooster and hen. Maybe the one didn't have a hen. I don't know. Anyway, I decided I didn't want to cover up that much of the flower. So I cut the frame off and I saved it on the wax paper so I can use it in a different project. Just make sure you tape those pieces together so they won't come apart when you're storing them. And that way you can use them next time. This went on so easy. I was really shocked at how easy these transfers adhered to this paint. I was very pleased with that because y'all know I love using transfers. I am using beeswax from Old Fashioned Milk Paint, and this actually has the Sweet Pickins brand on it. This is the dark. It comes in, I believe it comes in clear, white, black, and dark. I think it has a clear. Mm, don't quote me on that. So I put this on with my wax brush and I covered the entire surface. I did the front, the back, the sides. I did way down inside the interior. I usually don't paint a lot of interior things, but this is so wide you can see down in there. So I wanted it to look a little more finished. When I was done covering the entire surface, I used a dry towel, and it says to make sure that you use a towel that doesn't have lint. And this is just a fresh towel out of the dryer. So it didn't have lint on it, but I think there's probably a better towel for it. This did work, but I'm just telling you because that's what it says. So might want to look into that before you use, you know, a regular whatever they're called towels. What's that called? With the little loop? I forget. Terry cloth. Terry cloth? Is that right? I don't know. Anyway, tell me what you think about this. I love it in my own kitchen. Y'all, I'm going to try to make this quick because, man, this video is long. I don't know how I do that. One of my friends said, well, maybe if you didn't talk so much. But I have a lot to say, and also, I don't get out much. Y'all are my friends I hang out with. I need to tell you things. Know what I'm saying? So I think I pretty much covered it all. If you are new here, though, hi, I'm so glad you found our channel, and I hope you will think about subscribing and joining our awesome group of viewers. We really do love them, and I think they love us. They do a lot of praying for each other and laughing in the comments. It's a great group. We've actually already started a Facebook group. We just haven't made it public yet because we're trying to figure out some of the logistics of how we're going to handle it. But keep your eye open for that. I want y'all to be able to have a place to share your creations. I would love to see what you make. You tell me about them, and I'm envisioning them, and I want to see them for myself. All of the old-fashioned milk paint and IOD products I used are available on our website, as are some other fun things. So make sure you go check that out. And until you see us again next time, we hope you have a wonderful week. And as always, we hope you are blessed. Bye.